Welcome back to another Team Talk. Collingwood, Gold Coast. The teams have just dropped. Let's look into it. So before we get into it, if you haven't already, check out mine and Dutchie's chat with Dame Beams. It was absolutely incredible. It really opened, the thoughts on all the trade and everything that sort of happened there. So I really highly recommend you check that out. And if you haven't either, go watch my video on the 2022 versus the 2025 Magpies because poured my heart and soul into that one, and I absolutely loved deep diving and stats and stuff like that, and I'll only make better ones from here. So check out those two, but let's get into this team talk. We'll start off with the Suns because there hasn't been a lot of change since last week's game. So they bring in Jared Witts and David Swallow. So this is David Swallow's first game since round 13. Jared Witts was managed last week, so he comes in for Ned Moyle, and Alex Sexton goes out. Witsy, the former Collingwood player Jared Witts, love how he goes about it, and especially since that trade to the Suns, he's been really, really good, captain the club and stuff like that. So that's going to be a big task for Darcy Cameron and Mason Cox, which we'll talk about in a second. Spoilers. So that's going to be really interesting, and looking at their side. They've actually got a really good side. We go up against John Noble for the first time. Mac Andrew, Wil Parker, Daniel Rioli, they've got a decent back half, but one that I think will be able to sort of work our way through. But then you got their forward guys: Flanders, Walter, King, Long, some couple of tall guys mixed with some couple of medium tall guys. So it's going to be a really interesting matchup there. But that Jared Witts inclusion over Ned Moyle is it's really big for the Suns because Jared Witts, and they're the number one clearance side, Gold Coast, like we said on my match preview. So Jared Witts does help that. But in the last 5 or 6 weeks, we're the number 2 side for stopping teams scoring from clearances. So that was a bit of a mouthful. So you can see that it's kind of going to balance it out. So very, very interesting there. Now, Collingwood has been very interesting. Something that I didn't see happening. Coming into the side, Steele Sidebottom, Lachie, Schultz, Mason Cox. Coming out of the side, Pat Lipinski being managed, Brody Mihocek being managed, and Wil Parker being omitted from last week's team. Now, Lipinski is an interesting one because he's, just been incredible these last few weeks. So he's been managed, which I think might have something to do with the flu gastro outbreak for the last 2 weeks around the club. There was no captain's run today, so I couldn't see what was going on. I wasn't at main training Wednesday either, so I didn't know what was up there. But they're resting Brody Mihocek as well. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this forward line works, because what's going to happen is resting Mihocek would have been nice for Charlie West to be, not injured. But resting Mihocek, you bring Mason Cox in for the second ruck, so you have Dan McStay stay in the forward line, and we get to finally see no second ruck for Dan McStay, which is what I want. But at the expense of Mihocek going out, Cox coming in, it's probably, a bit of a double-edged sword there. But I am... Look... I do like that Mason Cox is in the team. I know our sort of history with Coxie and winning games when he's in the team and stuff like that. And I do think that this might be one of his last chances unless an injury comes. Obviously, it's not an injury, but a management, and Brody Mihocek comes out, Mason Cox comes in, right? He has to do something. He has to kick at least two goals. And, I want to see him, if he's not kicking those goals, just crumbing it. Or, we know he's got really, really good tap work as a ruckman, and that's great. That's amazing. But can he do what Darcy Cameron does and drop back into the hole if we need him? Or is he going to be more of that 4.5 player? And we can finally see, what does Darcy Cameron look like with a Mason Cox in the team and Dan McStay up into the forward line with no Brody Mihocek. So it's going to be a really interesting forward mix. Now, also, talking about forward mixes, Steele Sidebottom, we know what Steele can do. Lachie Schultz is back. Shooter. The Shootster is back, which is absolutely amazing. You know how much I love Schultz and how much he's changed the team. He's still ranked second in tackles inside forward 50, and that's with 7 less games than Paul Curtis, who's net ranked number 1. I think he's still at least top 3 for pressure acts inside the forward 50 as well. Shooter is going to change our whole dynamic, and touch wood, he's all okay to go, because we know the rigors, the difference between training fully and then playing fully as well. Expect him to be managed. Maybe, I reckon maybe he, maybe 65, 70% game time, maybe 70%. If Titch came back in and did 69% last week, maybe Shooter 70, 75%. So I'm just keen to see him tackling and running and pressure forward, something that we haven't had for weeks. Bo McCreary, no Bobby Hill. So now we're starting to finally get them back. So that's going to be just amazing to see. And I would have liked to have seen him in a team with a full sort of forward cohort, with Bobby and with Bo and with Brody Mihocek as well. But this sort of ragtag forward line that we've got going with, Sullivan chucked in there as well is going to be interesting. So I think it's going to be a really, really, really good just matchup in general. Now, a couple of other things which is very interesting. So on the emergency list, we've got Lipinski, who's just being managed, can play if he needs to, Wil Parker, and Ed Allan. So that tells me that Ed Allan was probably good to go, and he just didn't get picked, I think, because they're giving Rowan Steele another run and seeing what that looks like. And on our interchange bench, we've got Tom Mitchell, who's playing his 2nd game in a row, because how could you take him out of that side? Dan Houston, Markov, Rowan Steele, Mason Cox. I think this might be a Rowan Steele or Markov substitute. Can't see any of the other guys being or starting as subs. Markov did well last week, and Rowan Steele did better than him. And if you're basing it off last week, I think Markov will be the guy that gets subbed. Obviously, his former club, the Gold Coast Suns, who delisted him, and we got him, and now he's a premiership player. I would love a full game for Rowan Steele and seeing how that goes. But I think Markov is a very good sub just because he can play in multiple positions if we need him to. But I don't really want to give Rowan Steele the substitute vest, because he just had such a good debut last week, and I want to see him kick that goal. But anyway, guys, this has just been a team talk. I said I was going to get him out on Friday, but because it's my dad's birthday today, so happy birthday, Dad, if you're watching. So I'm just about to finish up this, edit, and go into the car and get to dinner for him. So, Dad, happy birthday. Let me know all your thoughts down below on this team. Do you like the ins and outs? What do you think? Give me your final predictions. But until then, like, comment, subscribe, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your pets, and until next time, double shackers. I'll swoop you later.